Welcome to the Next Play podcast, where we are overcoming mistakes in life and in athletics. I've got my good friend here, Coach Jeremy Bosken. We are doing a series on the military and athletics. Jeremy is a former Marine, and he is a football coach that has built up several programs. Jeremy, good to have you. How you doing today, buddy?
Doing great. Appreciate you having me, man. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. So, Jeremy, your background, I always do people's bios for them if they were my guests. So I can't do yours. You moved around too much, and there was too much going on. But we're going to hit the highlights of you being in the Marines, and then you building programs and also connecting, how you use lessons from the Marines in your job right now. So what year you went into the military after 9/11, right? Is that what happened?
Yep, right after it.
And so you signed up right at, which I guess a lot of people did that, correct?
Yeah.
So how old were you then?
Oh man. Sophomore, junior in college, something like that.
So you got out and went and skipped your last year or two of college, right? And then
I came back and finished. Yeah.
So that was at ETSU. Now you played where? You played a year or two of football at
Played at Carson Newman and then transferred to East Tennessee State. And East Tennessee State lost their football program. And I was tired of transferring, so the Marine Corps became the next best bet.
And so you went in the Marine Corps, and then you came back after that, and I guess used the GI Bill then. How many years were you in the military?
6 years.
So you were in there 6 years. Wow.
Yep. So GI Bill kind of helped pay for it, but it felt like I was in a lot more because growing up, my dad was in it for 20.
Wow.
So it felt like I was in for 26 years. But it was, I mean, that's one of the reasons I think I fell in love with sports so much is when you're moving around growing up so much. I mean, being the new kid in every city, I mean, we moved every 3 years. The best way to meet new friends was to go play sports.
Wow. That is Grundy Barkin. Grundy is not a big fan of many people know Grundy because have you ever heard the Grundy part of our clinic? Have you never even heard that, have you? It's the whole new way we do clinics. But anyway, Grundy gets mad when I'm on Zoom, so he'll chill out. I apologize to the listeners. He is currently attacking my arm right now. So, all right. So 6 years in the military. So your dad, was he in the Marines too? I don't think I realized it.
Yep, he was in the Marines, and he finished as being the chief admin officer of the Marine Corps. But he was a competitive guy, and he was actually a power lifter in the Marine Corps, and won the strongest man in all armed forces 3 years in a row, and 11th strongest man in the world. So we were always around the weight room and sports and the military guys all the time. So it was kind of.
Now, when did you get married? Were you married in the when you were in the military or before?
Whenever I was overseas, we were engaged when we were overseas. Whenever we got back, we got married. I hadn't graduated college yet.
And so you came back, and then so you all wow. Where all were you stationed in your 6 years? Now you did a couple tours, right?
Just one tour over in the big sand pit in Iraq, and that was. I needed it though. I was immature and thought I knew it all, and it helped me grow up and helped me to learn about the process and trust the process. And
so what do you mean by that? Like expound on that a little bit, possibly.
I mean, the Marine Corps has got a process of way they build Marines, and I mean everything from boot camp and coming down there, and they kind of break you down and build you up, and you think you know it all.
So you think you needed the structure of the Marines rather than the combat piece, is what you're saying?
Oh, 1,000%. But just it makes you. They have a system in which they do with every single Marine that's ever come through there. Yeah. And you come through there and you think this is stupid or that's stupid, and they get you to shut up and just do it their way. And by the time you graduate, things become more clear on why they were doing things. The things you thought were stupid at the time, you can kind of see from a little bigger picture kind of deal from at the end. So that right there, I guess, was one of my first introductions to like the process and trust in the process. It's kind of like, oh, I kind of see what you're doing now.
So for example, like at the very beginning, something you thought you were just doing for no reason. In the end, you look back and was it because of discipline? Or were they just doing it to get you to submit to authority, basically?
I mean, it's more of like you're like trusting the people that are in charge and trusting the guy to your left and the guy to your right. And because I mean, when you're in combat, you can't have distrust by any means.
Yeah.
So it becomes that we all go through the same thing to get the Eagle Globe and Anchor.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have
Now,
respect.
what is that? That's the to graduate. That's to be a Marine, right?
Yeah, that's the Marine Corps emblem is the EGA, the Eagle Globe and Anchor that you kind of see on things. So in order to get that, everybody has to go through Paris Island. There's not like a million different boot camps you can go to. So anybody that does wear it, you kind of have the respect, like, hey, they've been through this.
Yeah.
And then seeing that they've been promoted or whatever their rank may be, I mean, it's like, hey, trust this, trust the process, trust the process. All these people have been through it.
The few, the proud, the Marines. That's the so the Marines. I've had some special forces guys on. You're kind of sandwiched in between Army Rangers. I've got coming on. So you Marines, y'all just consider all you guys. You're special forces, right? That's what you Marines.
We're all infantrymen. I mean, that there's not a million different departments. Like you said, we're the few and the proud. There's not a million different departments in the Marine Corps. There's just a small group, and we're all infantrymen. So,
wow. Once a Marine, always a Marine, right?
Better believe it.
Now, was your brother a Marine?
No. He went and wrestled at UTC at a high school.
So did your dad look down? Did he look down upon Josh as not being a Marine? I mean, is it like kind of soft or what? How's that work?
No. Honestly, whenever ETSU lost their football program, it was kind of like, you better grow up real quick, or hey, I won't be mad at you if you just go sign up. And that was kind of his way of saying, take your time.
Wow. So 6 years now, you held a bit. Now, what was your role? You're a big, strong guy, so you were the guy that carried the gun around, right? The big
I was a 0351, which is a infantry assaultman. So we shot the big rocket launchers and did a lot of the demolitions of blowing things up. So the big rockets I had to kind of carry and that kind of stuff, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I was
all right. So you're carrying. How heavy is this thing now? Would you say?
I mean, all together, I mean, you're usually carrying 2 rounds and then the actual,
so it wasn't put together. You're carrying it in pieces.
Yeah. You have to put it together whenever you're ready to shoot it, kind of deal. I wouldn't even know what to guess how much it weighed, but I was always the bigger guy in the unit. I mean, I was always a little more, a lot of those guys were kind of skinny receiver type kind of guys. And I'm more of a linebacker.
What was that your position?
Well, I wasn't going to run as fast as them, so I was happy being the mule. I will carry anything they needed me to.
So what was your position in football in college?
Really about everything. Anything that was kind of like my thing of whenever we're getting recruited is I just wanted to go play.
Yeah.
So they kind of recruited me for a little bit of everything. So, and they said, we'll kind of figure it out. They were looking for somebody with the passion to do it. And my high school team, we had about like 6 guys signed D1.
Yeah.
So I would find my way, learn whatever I had to do to kind of fit in between those guys. So
now, where'd you go? Did you go to Science Hill? Where'd you graduate?
Oh, no, I graduated up in Northern Virginia at Quantico, North Stafford, near DC.
Wow.
That's where my dad finished out. So we were all up there and we were pretty good. My high school coach now is actually the receiver coach with the Chargers.
Wow. So carrying that gun around, I mean, you guys, obviously you got to work together. Like, how many people fire that gun?
Takes 2 of us.
2 of you.
Takes 2 of us. And you have a spotter and you got to get tight and everything. And it's just, but there's other people that kind of help obviously in the process. So, it takes a whole group.
Yeah.
But it was the loudest weapon in the military arsenal, handheld weapon in the military arsenal. So the thing, it lets off a pretty big boom. So when you shoot that thing, everybody knows where you're at.
So how's your hearing right now? Is it?
I think it's okay. My wife says it's not, but
you can kind of use that when you need to selectively.
Exactly.
What did they give you, a headphone or earplugs or what did
you just have earplugs and stuff in it, but you just better be a good shot because everybody's going to know where you're at as soon as you fire it. So
they're coming right back at you.
You better believe it. So you better hit your target.
You better hit them first before they hit you. Is that
100%? Yep.
Wow. So like how far, how much of like, let's say you're on the goal line. How far is that thing going?
Oh gosh. Oh man. I don't even remember where to guess anymore. I mean, you're taking out tanks and you're putting holes in the wall, holes in buildings.
So like 100, like would you shoot it farther than, or would
Oh
you,
yeah,
a mile, 100 yards?
no, not a mile. You're looking 300 yards, 400 yards. I mean, depends how good you are, I guess.
Wow.
It's been
How
so
much?
long. That was 2004, I guess it was. We were overseas.
Yeah.
So I'm the old man now.
So if you're shooting it from the goal line and you're shooting towards, let's say, a field house, how much of the field house you knocking out?
Oh, you're gonna put a hole in the wall for sure. I mean, depending on what's on the other side to hit, but I mean, you're gonna blow it up.
That's awesome. That's pretty.
I mean, there's gonna be, I mean, the Rangers and stuff like that we help bust that thing down before they go in. So it's pretty easy cleanup after that.
That's incredible.
But the tanks was the number one thing you'd probably be taking out with it. Tanks, IEDs, and putting holes in walls.
Now you were in some combat stuff too, right? I mean, you were out there, and you guys don't like to talk about that. Obviously, keep it.
I mean, it's one of those things that you get the speech on the way coming back. The women and children, they don't need to know.
Wow.
But no, we did what we were told to do. We had some very successful missions, and
when you say that women and children don't need to know, what does that mean? Like it's just so graphic and horrible, or what is that? It's not, you don't want to brag about it, or because I can't ever get. I mean, I taught this military and athletics piece. Everybody no one's going to say, yeah, I've killed so many people. Yeah, I did all this, did that. It's like you just keep it to yourself. It's fascinating how that.
Well, whenever we got back, whenever we were coming back, I mean, they have counselors talk to you and stuff like that before they actually let you go back with your family and stuff. I mean, just to make sure everybody's good to go. And we had a brigadier general just kind of sit there and brief us all. And it's like, hey, I mean, if you guys need to talk to each other, you got us, you got each other, but the women and children, they really don't need to know.
Wow.
So, and it was just, I mean, I guess it's kind of understood. I mean, we're blessed to live in an amazing country with amazing freedoms, and we don't need to relive all that all the time. Now, that was part of the counseling session. Hey, come talk to us, come talk to each other.
Yeah.
You don't need to go telling everybody about it.
Incredible. So 6 years. All right. So tell me how, as a guy that loves to build football programs, and for the listeners, Jeremy's built several, and he is a builder. He loves going in and taking over programs that are almost nothing and turning them into something. So tell me, what principles from the military do you use in like building a program?
I'd say about all of it.
Wow.
I've fallen in love with the process. I love the process as much.
So you weren't that way before the military, is what you're telling me?
I don't know. I was kind of like a lot of people love, like being a football coach, love Friday nights. And I think Friday nights are for the kids.
Yeah.
I love Monday through Thursday. I love knowing what the mission is and how we're preparing for it and how we're getting guys ready. And I love the off season, and we incorporate a lot of small unit leadership, just like the Marine Corps does. And we'll divide our guys into little platoons, and they learn to lead small groups before. And as we kind of build and grow. And I believe, I mean, you were there. I mean, you were one of the best ADs I've ever worked for. And just, I mean, you let me kind of just do it. And I mean, I believe in uniting people. I mean, I believe sports brings the best and the worst out of people.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah, it does. But so what about something specific to a coach listening or an athlete? Ways, you are so like the whole integrating everybody into these buck wars you used to do, where you brought everybody against each other, and then it was competition, yet everybody's loving it, and those kind of things. But what about, like, let's say to the basketball coach or the softball coach listening to it, how can they take military secrets, I guess, into their work with their team? would you say?
I would say the small unit leadership is one of the best ways. I mean, it just
Wow, that's good.
having young kids. I mean, them looking for a leader amongst a 15-year-old kid is really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But trying to put them in positions where they can learn how to lead, I think is the most valuable.
Yeah.
And we're talking like January, February, getting ready for the football season. I mean, if you get to August, September, and you're expecting a kid to lead and you've never help him learn like what that looks like or feels like, I mean, you're kind of setting him up for failure, and that's kind of messed up.
Right.
So, I mean,
So-
it's like before we go to battle or before we went overseas or whatever, I mean, you have your training missions. And I'm a firm believer that, I mean, no one's going to remember third and 2 on the third game of the year. They're really not.
Right.
They may complain about it after the game or whatever, but like once that kid graduates, he's going to have most of his memories from the practices, from all the times that sucked, like in the off season kind of deal.
Well, you talk about embracing the suck too, right?
I'm a firm believer in embracing the suck, because that's one of the best learning lessons you'll find.
That's
when
awesome.
things start to suck, because people, I mean, people naturally want to quit. They want to stop. They want to. This is stupid. Why do I got to do this? But that's where the biggest lessons are going to be learned.
Embrace the suck. That might be the title of this episode. That's beautiful. You know, Ray Lewis, they asked Ray Lewis what he missed most about football. He said he misses the pain. I mean, that's
oh man,
that's wired.
I don't blame him. I don't. I mean, and I'm one of the ones. I mean, I hate losing more than I enjoy winning.
Yeah.
I mean, but just that process. It's like what you're talking about, the military. It's the process. It's like they break you down and try to build you into a Marine. It's the same thing with every team every year.
Yeah.
And giving them little opportunities to learn how to lead, to learn how to grow, to be a man, to trying to find people's strengths.
Yeah.
Are they fast? I mean, all that kind of stuff, just like you do anything. The same thing when you're looking at the Marine Corps. Are they going to be a mortarman? Are they going to be a sniper? Are they going to be an assaultman? I mean, just those same things. It's like putting a team together.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I mentioned the story about how in the book, 10 Qualities of a Warrior, which if you haven't bought that to the listeners, why haven't you? And you can get it on Amazon or just send me a DM and I'll give you a reduced price. But I talked about how you give everybody the opportunity to choose their position in the first of the year. And so, when you first get to Boy Buchanan, there's 19 players basically, and 10 of them are playing quarterback, want to play quarterback. You've got like one guy signed up for offensive line. So anyway, I thought that was how do you go from encouraging them to like putting them in the position maybe where they fit the best for them and the team?
We're about to do that same exact thing on May 1st. That's when the spring practice starts.
You give everybody the opportunity to choose their position.
Combine. We'll let everybody see how fast they are and how strong they are and how high they can jump. And we do a combine and we'll do some one-on-one stuff, and all those linemen with dreams of being tight ends.
Yeah.
Whenever they have to try to run away from the fast defensive back, they learn it's a little harder.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit easier to kind of sway them than me just trying to convince them. Once they can see it and feel it themselves, like they drop their guard a little bit and start to listen.
Yeah.
But I mean, trying to make sure they all feel like they're a part of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I'm a hard-headed individual. I mean, Tommy Brown can give me all kinds of advice. Sometimes I just got to learn it by myself. I got to go through it and realize, Coach Brown was right again. Okay. And it kind of helps to sway a little bit more rather than me pulling teeth and forcing kids to go in a certain direction. But that's when you're building a program, when you're trying to sustain success, a lot of times they already have that vision of where they want to be. And it's a whole different ball game.
Right.
But
you're the best at building, no doubt. And I appreciate you being on here. So I always say, what's the next play for the guest? What's the next play for Jeremy Bosken and for you? I mean, for those of you who don't know, Jeremy has a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful daughters, and a wonderful son who you would probably want your daughter to marry, no doubt. And so what's the next play for the Boskens?
Next play is 6:15 workouts Monday morning.
That's the process. You're
That's
not
it.
talking about
That's
that.
it. One can't get too far ahead of it. It's one day at a time.
And you genuinely love that. A lot of people
Oh, I love
like
it.
I mean, you're not going to sit back and like you sent pictures of that locker room, or I saw it on, or the weight room. No, I saw the weight room you built on Twitter. What was it like before? I wish you'd send the before pictures too for people.
We had one squat rack.
Yeah.
We had one squat rack and a bunch of machines that nobody could really use, a bunch of bent bars. I mean, in the process, I mean, you kind of know a lot of times people don't see your vision.
Yeah.
So we built a powerlifting team in that little one squat room deal. And I made the deal with them that if we went in one state, that they'd get us a new weight room. So
Yeah.
we built a powerlifting team and we won state probably about a month ago now with
Yeah.
7 young kids that were wanting to go lift, and we went down there and we're very successful and came back, put the bid in. We got custom racks.
That's awesome. So how can people get in touch with your social media? How?
Oh goodness. On Instagram and on Twitter, it's just at Jeremy Bosken. Nothing
Jeremy
fancy.
Bosken.
Just JeremyBosken.
Good deal.
Real simple.
Well, thank you to our listeners. You can email me or all my social medias be the thumb. So get one of the books, The 10 Qualities of a Warrior. Jeremy's a little bit about him in there. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you. Thanks.